After all, Elio didn't put it in the script. Why would it matter?
What is going on, YouTube? This is The Last Musketeer, and welcome to part 1 of the Honkai Star Rail free-to-play Is It Worth It series. This has been one that I am very much excited for. Been waiting quite a while for this one to come out, and I'm assuming the servers might have opened early because we were looking into it on the Discord, and it seemed they just popped up out of nowhere, so we were able to get in and try it out. And while we're doing some of this just tutorial stuff, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think so far, because this is a big project, and generally with big projects is whether your first impression is a good one or not. And I have to say, I am thoroughly enjoying it so far. I am a big fan of turn-based combat, and the art of this game is incredible so far. I'm going to show you a little bit. This is just the tutorial character that they're showing you everything for, but I'll show you a little bit of what it's like for some of the art and the animations. It is absolutely incredible, especially the ultimates. The ultimates are very well done, very fleshed out, and have a nice little bit to them. I don't know if you can actually disable them. There's probably something to where you can do that, or maybe speed it up, because I know after a while, after seeing some for a little bit, you're probably going to be wanting to skip if they are very long ultimate showcases. But here is the first one here. Absolutely beautiful. I do very much enjoy what they've done with that, and I don't mind waiting to watch because they are that well animated. That one is not as crazy as some of the other ones I've seen. One of the characters that joins you a little bit later on, that's a temporary character just for the story plot, has a really incredible one where she like nukes the battlefield. So I'm not just excited to see all the characters that are going to be coming out, but mainly more so their ultimates, because I'm very much a fan of how they do this. So going into some of the gameplay itself, it is very much, I guess you go into an area, and I don't think it's exactly open world, but you're able to roam around and do what you're doing to progress through the missions. The combat system, as you've seen a couple of the showcases so far, has a nice way of going into it with the element system, where if you hit something that is weak to an element of a character you're using, you get a weakness buff on them starting out of the match, and that can play a pivotal role in some of your fights and getting a better shot at taking out a higher or tougher target. So be very much paying attention to the element system and using it to your advantage. So it seems like essentially going into combat, the element disadvantage they have is going to work into a break system. So if they don't display the correct element over their head for when you hit them with a certain character, let's say they're weak to ice and you hit them with physical, it's going to drain their health, but not the break meter. The break meter is reserved for ones that it's weak to. So you could hit it with ice when it's weak to ice, and it'll take out a portion of the bar. If you hit hard enough, it'll take out the whole bar and perform a break. And what the break does essentially is weaken the character and put them into a state where they're not attacking. So they're affected by the element, and they also take extra damage from the element when it is their turn. So it is a really nice way of sort of controlling your opponent and putting you at an advantage. Now, skill points are what you use to activate your special abilities, and not your ultimate. That builds up in energy over time. But as you're using these skills, your whole team shares a skill meter, so it can go up to 5, and each time you use one, it goes down by 1, but each turn, it seems, it goes up 1. So if you're using a default attack, it's going to go up for the next person. So essentially, you do have to be careful with how you use things, because you could put yourself in a bad situation if you're not too careful with it. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you're actually getting your character. So essentially, when you get into it, there is no character creation screen, which I'm kinda sad about, but at the same time, maybe later on they'll add some skins, kinda make it to where you can add your own, make it feel like yours, but you get to choose between a male and a female, and I went ahead and chose the female as I usually do in games like this. No real reason, just something I always did, and I'm going to go with the name as Aurelius, as I always do when it comes to an MMO or an RPG style game. No real reason behind that other than the fact that I've used it for years and I don't remember the motivation behind it in particular. But one thing I do want to say is that if you've never seen the free-to-play Is It Worth This series, I do these for about 30 days. If I like the game a lot, I will continue to play it. If not, then I will drop it. But more than likely, I'm going to continue this one because I do already love it. I'm going to sink a lot of time into this, I'm sure. But also, I don't look at guides, I don't look at walkthroughs, so this is a raw gameplay, and I'll just share with you what I learned over the course of these 30 days, and whether or not it is viable for a free-to-play player to attempt it, or what you're going to be dealing with over time. But we're unlocking a little bit of the character screen, so I'm getting to see a little bit of the details of the characters, and there are a lot of different things that you have to watch out for. So in your regular bit, you've got your combat style, and then you got the ones outside of combat. As you can see here, I am locking onto the character, and I'm going to be able to use the weakness type, as I was explaining earlier about the break of the character. So it reduces the toughness, which is your break bar, and that is the white bar directly above the enemy's health bar. So you'll see that go down as fight starts. It went down to half for one of those enemies, and one other feature that I like is that when it's displaying this lock-on, as you can see, it is actually displaying in the lower left corner right above the character that is being locked on. So it seems they will show you the buffs, debuffs, whatever may be on there, so you can get a little bit easier understanding. It's a little more compact in that sense, which I am a fan of because I always worry about something having a bit too much clutter, but they seem to do a good job here of reducing it to some very small little boxes right by the characters, giving you an easy understanding, because the attack up is like a sword looking thing and then a shield for the defense, so pretty straightforward. I haven't seen a lot of the buffs or debuffs yet, but as we go on I'll be able to talk about them a little bit more. For now, I'm going to go ahead and let you watch the rest of this fight and kind of formulate your opinion on what you think. Okay, so a bit of a long fight, though I am still fairly underleveled, so it's going to take a little bit of time to do these, but technique is the thing you do outside of combat, another one of the skills that is going to be different for each character, and you use this to either, some characters will have heals, some characters will have ways of, like this one, March 7th, which is actually her name, by the way, will actually freeze the character before going into combat, which is going to make it a little bit easier on you, slow them down, and give you a bit more time to react to everything. So always good to be watching what you're doing outside of combat as well as going into it by giving yourself as much of an advantage going in as you possibly can. So you're making sure that you're using abilities when it is needed most, using just hitting them with a weakness to get that as well when you're not using an ability, but also your restoration types before going into combat are also very important. But there are a lot of great different types of skill usages that they've added to this game that I think make it differ a lot from other games of this type of genre. But going into traces are one thing that I do enjoy, but I am also a little bit worried about because the materials may be a little hard to get, I'm not exactly sure, and for some people it may be a little quicker based on spending, but not as bad as some of the gacha stuff, which I'm going to warn you now is going to be a very low drop rate, but also the light cones are part of the gacha system as well, so it's not just pulling a character, You're also pulling these light cones for stat boost and a little bit of ability boost, passive ability boost, whatever it may be for your character. Now, I don't know how hard they're going to be able to get, how generous they're going to be when it comes to actually giving you tickets and stuff, but I will show you what I actually got from the login, which was actually pretty decent, I think. Look, I didn't get too lucky with my actual draws. Hopefully some of you do, but also there is the aspect of re-rolling. I know some people are big on that. If you don't get something good, you re-roll, start out. I don't know how long that'll take, but I do recommend it if you want to, as a free-to-play player, get a little bit of an advantage early on, trying to get you a really nice hero. But this seems to be the current hub of where you start your main questing after you get out of basically the tutorial system. And so we're going into the warp, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the actual gacha system. Now this one is part of the story, and I believe you always get Asta. I don't exactly know, but from what I've heard from other people in my Discord, they also got this character at this point in the story. Now it is a 4-star, so it is usable, and I think early on, at least for the most part, I don't know how strong everything is going to be in comparison to each other yet, but I would imagine, at least for story purposes, 4 stars are going to be completely viable for what you're doing. But I clicked on the ×10 for that particular banner, and it says 1,600 of the star tokens that you use for basically trade-ins for any of the gacha stuff, and 1,600 is quite a bit. I have 122 currently, and from the missions that you get like 5 or 10 at a time, so I don't know how hard exactly it's going to be, but I know you get them from chests as well, so they are abundant throughout the world. I just don't know how long it'll be as a free-to-play for you to actually do that yet, but this is just the first day. Once I get a full week out, it's going to be a lot different. But for the login calendar, it looks like over the course of the week, you're probably going to get 10 summons for the special limited banner, which is nice, doing a 10 pull on that, but the drop rates are about 0.6%, I believe, and the pity is like 90, so you're gonna be trying quite often to try to get these. Not looking great in terms of pulls for free to play, but like I said, I don't know exactly how long it's going to take me for farming up a 10 pull, and I'll let you know in the next week, because I will be grinding this out a lot and trying to find out from there. Here I'm just doing a quick character test, because they do give you the option of getting some rewards for testing the characters, beating the certain fight with them, and this is one of the ones that is on the limited banner currently, and she seems extremely good, hits like a nuke. Her whole kit is based around single target damage, and I actually forget to use the ultimate for this showcase, which is embarrassing to say the least, but I'm sure it hits extremely hard, so this is a character that I would love to have, and hopefully I can get enough to try to get her. If I don't feel like I can get her before the banner ends, I'm going to save up, more than likely, to try for something else. But if greed gets the better of me, I will pull for her and hope that I get it. But we'll have to see what it looks like a little bit later on. But this is the achievement menu, where you will earn some of your Star Jades. And like I said, they only give you about 5 or 10 at a time. There are a lot to earn in these, but not as much as I'd like to see. And that's one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about. But the mail actually has a nice start out system where you're going to get some of these credits, and then you're also going to get another package, which is the pre-registration for 20 pulls, a profile picture, a free character in Serval, and 100,000 credits. So actually a pretty good package, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go ahead and use these and hope for something good. But for those of you watching, I am curious what you ended up getting with yours. So if you could leave anything in the comments telling me, you know, what you pulled for, if you're saving for something, whatever your idea is going into this, because I know some people are going to look ahead and see what characters are going to be meta. I'm not doing that, so I'm just pulling for whatever I can get. I would love to get this person I have displayed right here, the red-haired lady, Himiko, because she is really cool art system, and probably going to be my favorite art design character so far, so will be the one I'm simping for. So hopefully, you know, things go off a little bit better in the future and I can get the characters I want. But it is a toss-up between about 5 or so on this banner. So unless the pity system does allow you to pick in particular, I'm more than likely not going to get that lucky. So like I said, just let me know in the comments what you ended up getting, and also, you know, tell me what your thoughts are on the game initially. I'm curious what people think, and I don't know if there is a multiplayer system yet. I would imagine there should be, but it would be cool to have like a party of 4 and each person use a specific character, which I think is a good way to do multiplayer. So if I do get to it, more than likely that's probably how it will work. I'm excited to play with some people. I would love to add some people and try to get on. So I will leave my Discord server link in the description, and you can go ahead and join, and you know, feel free to at me. I'm not particular on worrying about people adding me on stuff. I do enjoy chatting on the Discord and keeping up with everybody. So I'm going to add also a server or a particular category for Honkai Star Rail and trying to get everything going, and we can communicate in there. I'll have voice chat, of course, so people can stream when other people want to watch, and everybody can just hang out and enjoy the play together. So from that, I really only got one new character. I got a 4-star of the light cores, and then the rest of it were just the 3 stars of the light core. But one thing I did want to show is I'm fighting a level 11 Void Ranger here. So this is going to be basically a boss for me. I tried to use this thing, but I couldn't get it to lock on from where I was, and so I kept wasting 2 of the shots. And so I just ended up shooting him for the weakness. I would have loved to get the freeze debuff on him to start out with, or somebody, just so I can go ahead with that. But it did break the other character, so at least I did get a freeze on something. Now this actually is one of my favorite characters so far. Her design, the fox type girl, is really, really cool, and she's a support character that boosts attack, and she has some actual high crit, it seems like, because she crits quite often for me. So I'm excited to keep her in my squad. She is the one I pulled from one of the 10 pulls of the gacha, and I actually equipped her with the 4-star light core because it was also for her specific class, which is really nice. But the reason I like Kamiko so much is when you break 3 units guard, she goes in with an attack as part of her passive and hits all enemies, so it does a nice little bit of added damage when you're just going for your weaknesses on the other characters. But also, here is some of the displays of the ultimates. This one is pretty nice, though it usually doesn't seem like it does very much damage. The freeze is the major aspect of it, so if you do get the freeze, that is fantastic. But this is what your character's actual ultimate looks like, and it is very, very dope. The sounds of it, which I'm not showing because I'm very much worried about copyright strikes. I don't exactly know what is allowed and what is not. I'm going to have to consult some people and see what I can find out, and maybe add more of the in-game sound later on. But you can swap your character's ultimate into 2 different types of attacks, so it can be a heavy single target damage one or an AoE version. But I'm going to go ahead and let you see this one because this is my favorite ultimate so far. It's a very sick animation. I love it, and one of the reasons I like the character so much. Also, I do want to say, if you hear some weird noises in the background of my commentary, it is my dog. She has a bit of a bone over there, and she is going to town, so hopefully it doesn't pick up too much. She's usually a little bit quieter with it than she is currently, as you can hear right there. But I do love that they put a, well, I would call it a mini-boss. I don't know if it's necessarily a mini-boss, but it is a rougher enemy in these, because most of the fights seem very easy for me right now, but this one was very rough. Nearly took out a couple of my characters, and thanks to some of the shielding I got from March 7th's ability, I was able to survive it and get through it. Very low, but do get through it. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward and let you see just how the fight ends. Alright, so finally we get to the end of the fight. I cut out about 2 minutes of it. It was a very, very long fight between me and that mini-boss, but he was guarding a precious treasure. Now you'll find a lot of regular chests around, but these special ones you're going to have to do some special requirements for that, or there may be something guarding it. But don't worry, if the fight doesn't go well, you can use these space anchors to actually heal your character, and they're littered around throughout the stage.
Wait, March!
The Doomsday Beast. It's really here.
Get down here!
Careful, everyone!
Now this is actually the final boss of the first main stage that you do, and the whole design of them is so nice. Seems to be pretty easy compared to what I was expecting, because the little mini-boss that I fought earlier was smacking the crap out of me, and this guy was really not that big of a deal. I'm sure they make it easy on purpose, but still a lot easier than I was expecting from a boss. I thought it might do the usual trope when you go into these games where it's super overpowered and you can't really do anything, but no, you actually get to fight it and get to beat it. I don't know if it's the full powered version, of course, but you do handle it pretty easy with the lineup that you have. And it was actually really cool how they did it. So it has the cube in the middle that is basically like the drive core type thing, and then it uses its hands as the other two enemies that you attack as well. And also the fact that you have Himiko in your squad is a great option because you're doing a lot of guard breaking on these. So I went ahead and used my character's ultimate ability to hit the AoE here, and I'm trying to break this middle one, at least lower its guard. But I'm going to go ahead and do the first phase of it, and then I'm not going to show the rest. I'm going to skip the rest, just so I can leave it for people when they're playing themselves to actually be able to experience it firsthand, because I don't want to spoil everything on these. That's why I cut out a lot of the story and just show you bits and pieces here and there, and I'll go ahead and let it play out.
Combat is a series of precise machinations. Come one, come all. Let's be friends, shall we? Chill out.
So we are done with the fight, and I'm getting on to the end of the video. Just a couple things before I go. We get this thing called the Shadow of Destruction, which is something I was expecting going into this, is having the Eidolon feature, where basically this is your dupe system. You get a dupe of a character, you use it to upgrade that character. Another part of the gacha that's going to be a little hard for people if they are going for the high level characters. So either as a free-to-play, you're probably going to be saving up quite a while for a certain banner, or just going around and trying to pull everything you can and just not utilizing those upgrades. Hopefully there are ways to do it without having to have the clone, but that's something for me to discover a little bit later on. But this is what my team currently looks like, so they give you pretty good options early on, and I should have no problem moving forward. But a couple of closing messages. I do think that I'm going to get maybe way too much enjoyment out of this game because of how I'm feeling with it so far. But also, this is a quick look at my light cones. I do have quite a few, as you can see here, and I accidentally pressed without equipping, which was annoying, but you can also enhance these to make them a little bit stronger. There are a lot of ways you can get around stuff without having to really pay for anything, and I think if you enjoy the game itself, the gameplay, you should have no problem actually doing this as a free-to-play. Like I said, this whole video series is going to be about how hard it is for people, so if people are hesitant to get in, just know that if you like the gameplay, it is going to be worth regardless. As long as you get enjoyment out of what you're doing, it's going to be fun. And hopefully as time goes on, I can form a good hypothesis of what I think about the game and give you a good detailed breakdown of whether or not it's worth the effort. But anyway, guys, that'll do it for me. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.